Guys, we will start with the broadcast section with no embargo, followed by an embargoed section. No live tweeting during the broadcast section. Please use the microphone provided. Michael.
Only the true believers in today, yeah? Nice and intimate. Go on.
You right?
Yeah, I'm good. Good, thanks, Michael. Yeah, pretty much no different to the last game. Everyone got through the game unscathed, so yeah, no real change. Everyone's good.
That's good news. 160 goals in counting for Sol. I know you mentioned in the post-match, but just watching him again, the influence he has. Obviously, with Hugo Lloris leaving, Harry Kane leaving, you lost two big leaders. And I know you had leaders in the dressing room as well, but how much of a big decision was it to make him club captain? It clearly works. He's such a huge influence.
Yeah, it wasn't a big decision to make him the captain. Obviously, it was a big decision who the next sort of leader was going to be. Because, as you said, with obviously Hugo being such a huge influence in recent years, and obviously Harry as well, and even people like Eric Dyer and others who have been at the club for a long time, it was obviously going to be a key decision in terms of the direction we wanted to go. And part of, as I said all along, is I felt like we needed to make a change, in most things we were doing, just to show we're going in a direction. And it could have been very easy for me to think that Sonny's, probably not the change you need because he's been so influential, but I just felt he was such a natural fit. He's obviously been a leader within his national team, and I had no hesitation in sort of putting him in that position. But it's fair to say he's been outstanding, because sometimes when you sort of get the official title, it can weigh heavily. You feel a bigger burden when you're out there. But his performances this year have been outstanding, and if anything, I think it's taken him to a new level.
And James Maddison, obviously, been a great signing, but maybe hasn't hit the heights from the start of the season, which is understandable. It was a big injury. With him, and not just him, does Spurs maybe need? It's a quick turnaround tomorrow, but maybe that can be a good thing sometimes because of the lack of too many cup games, no Europe. Maybe someone like Maddison and maybe others need those quick turnaround matches.
Yeah, look, potentially. I think with Matters, I think we've had a few in that, but probably us as a team. I've said before, it's felt like a bit of a stuttering campaign. We've never really got into any sort of flow, probably apart from maybe the first 10 games. But that's part of the challenge, and whether that's Matters or other players who kind of, very few have had a sort of clean run at it all year. That's a challenge before us now with 9 games to go, is to try and finish the season strong, and a good challenge tomorrow night against a very good team.
Timo Werner, maybe he thinks he probably should have scored in the first half, but I like what I was seeing with him and Brennan Johnson on the other side. How pleased have you been with Timo Werner since he's come in? Do you think there's more to come? And then is it still, we'll discuss his future at the end of the season?
Yeah, look, in terms of his future, I think like most players, all these decisions will be made at the appropriate time. But look, I think it's been great for us. It was an important signing. I said at the time, because people forget that when we signed him, Sonny wasn't here. He was away with the Asian Cup, and then Richie got injured. So we would have had a massive hole in our lineup without Timo there. And it's fair to say he's made an impact in just about every game. He'd probably like a couple more goals, but I think at the same time he's an important part, of our structure. And I thought he was really good on the weekend, and it has been the last few games. And but I do think there's more improvement in him as he understands more around our game model.
Niff.
Obviously, Luton and West Ham, they present a different challenge. But what type of improvement do you want to see out of a big derby tomorrow night?
I don't think it's improvement. I just think it's further kind of development of our game model and getting some consistency in some of the things we do. As I said, it's been a very disruptive season, and I guess the positive for us at the moment is that we've got mostly a clean bill of health in terms of the players available. And on the weekend it was really good to see that not just the starters, the guys who come on made a real impact for us. And it's something we haven't been able to do sort of the middle and early part of the year. So it's just further improvement for us always.
I want to ask you, please, about Brennan Johnson and his impact on the second half. Not for the first time this season, you brought him up and he got the job done. Brought pace, brought energy to the team.
Yeah, no, he was. Brennan was super on the weekend, and look, he's another one. He's still young. He's still developing. He's moved to a big club where there's big expectations when you have a big transfer fee. But for the most part, I think he's handled it really well. He started the 2 games before he came off the bench, and he did really well against Villa. Wasn't great against Fulham, but most of the team wasn't great against Fulham. And then this one came again off the bench and made an impact. But I think again he's another one that's understanding more and more sort of how we want him to play, and he's adjusting to it. But like I said, I think for the most part he's handled himself really well this year. It was always going to be a tough sort of introduction when you're a young player. With a big transfer fee, moving to a big club, and I think it's always harder with attacking players because usually they just measure them on one thing, and that is goals or assists. But I think he's contributing in more than just that.
I want to ask you about the top 4 race, the challenge. Obviously, Aston Villa, yourself, Man United as well. There is 8-point gaps between you and United. Can you still see them challenge you? It's a big gap, and also they've been so inconsistent as well.
I don't know. I mean. Do you see us challenging Manchester City? No? Well, they're only 8 points ahead of us. So if you don't see us Manchester,
I think you've been more consistent than Man United.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So there's 8 points. So you either think we can catch Man City or 8 points ahead of us, or you think Man United can catch us. I mean, to me, it's all irrelevant. Like I said, what's important for me is that I've said it quite a few times is that we want to finish the season strong and keep building on the foundation of being a team that hopefully in 12 months' time people are looking at us differently and talking about us differently. And to do that, it can't just be about where you finish or how many points you get. It's got to be more than that. But obviously, if we finish the season strong, we'll finish in a decent position, and we'll see where that takes us.
Ali, please.
Hi there, Ange. Obviously on Saturday you spoke a little bit about Dejan Kulusevski and why he came off and the cutting inside. Obviously people forget he's still very young as well. Do you see him always being a right winger, or can you see him maybe at some points being on the left because of his being more left-footed, or would he come deeper in his career? What do you think kind of lies for him?
Well, I think he's played in every one of those positions you've mentioned this year. So, yeah, Decky, and look, I think in general we've got a really young group, and and that's what I keep saying is my role within that is to keep challenging them, pushing them to improve, because, if this is kind of the baseline for the majority of this group and we can get them to a new level, we're already competing, fairly well in this competition, and that's going to help us improve, So whether that's, Kulusevski or, Brennan Johnson or Van der Veen or Destiny or Pape or all these guys who, are in their very early 20s, is that, in their first or second year of the Premier League, then, that's our challenge as a club and as a coaching group to try and improve all of them. Positionally, then, we'll see where that develops. But like I said, Decky's filled all those positions for us this year and done a good job in just about every one of them.
Just wonder whether your kind of the tendency of your team to play those dangerous balls right across the 6-yard box, whether maybe being a left-footed player, would that be something that would benefit him to be able to do that, or have you just got to train him to be able to do that on the right more regularly?
I think they can do that. I mean, Timo's not a left-footed player; he plays on the left-hand side. So I think what's more important for us is, like I said, is that we continue to challenge our players to develop them, try and improve them, and Decky and all those players I mentioned have got a real appetite for it. So, where they end up in terms of positionally, some of that will be dictated by where the team's at as well, and what we need.
Richarlison, can I check, how's he reacted after those few minutes? Is he in a position where he could start a game yet?
He was much better after the game, and he felt a lot better. Trained yesterday. Got training this afternoon. He'll train this afternoon. So, he feels good now.
Just want to ask you, on Timo Werner obviously being a successful signing, you've had a lot of successful signings since you've arrived. And then maybe that's coincided also with the club pushing towards a more database kind of recruitment between Johan Lang
so
and
it's not me, it's the data. Yeah.
No. All together.
All
combined. Well, actually, the question was that something you kind of pushed for when you came in, was the database stuff?
No, look, I think every club has some sort of mechanism to identify players, and data plays a big part in that. And even before I was here, I'd still played a big part in kind of the recruitment here. It's sort of ultimately it comes down to then, what's the best fit. I think I've said before, there are very little sort of hidden gems anymore. I think if you ask for most clubs for a list of players they'd be targeting, depending on the financial constraints of the club, most of them would have similar players on it. I don't think there's any secrets. I think the key then becomes is, are they going to be a good fit for the club and for obviously the way you want to play? And I guess that's where my role comes in that, when you're looking at a list of players who I think is going to be the best fit.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. We'll move on to the embargoed section starting for 10:30 p.m. tonight. Adrian?